Hey everyone, welcome back. So tonight we've got a few things that we're gonna talk about. We're gonna be a little bit quicker. Last night was rather long. It was a recording in the end, but we'll talk about a few things today. First, let's show you something that I got today in the mail. Woo! Nicely packaged. We had some issues with our glass that came on our microscope, our viewing glass here, in that they scratch sometimes very easily. The first one we received with the microscope, when it came in from our very good eBay seller who sold us this one, unfortunately in transit, even though it was written fragile all over, had a broken glass, he sent us a new one. Then we found another one in addition that had some scratches on it. So I've used, in a microscope, we get these cool little screws, or screwdrivers. They come on the top here in this handy little compartment. Ta-da! So you would unscrew here, working hard here as an example, and then you can see the glass plate here. This one's quite thick, and ours is a clear glass. So what we've gone ahead and done is bought some new ones. They are quite expensive if you look at them on eBay, but we found a seller on Etsy called Andrew Glass, right? We'll put a link to his bio. He makes these glasses, and he makes them in the size and thickness that you want. We bought 89 millimeters. Gonna unbox it, nicely packaged. We bought two different types. We bought a clouded version. It is, compared to the one that we have, as you can see, the camera is best here, not as thick as the one we currently have. And obviously if you have a clear one, the light goes all the way through, and this obscures the light quite a bit. Makes a difference with what you're planning to look at, if you need the light obscured or not. This fits fine in our microscope. Now though, we do have a bit of a dip here. It's not a completely level plate before. Let's try this one tonight. You know what, let's try the glass one. That I like the clear glass. So I'm going to try the clear glass one, so we'll give it a whirl. And then the other thing that I'm going to show you very quickly, put that just off to the side, is we have this really cool, I'll just show you the picture of it, glass cleaning case, or cleaning kit, I should say. And in it you have everything you need to clean your camera, but it also works for the microscope. And we've used it to clean all the pieces and lenses inside the microscope. And the reason why I wanted to show you this is because when you buy a microscope like such, you should always get one of these fun little rocket ship looking tubes that pushes the air out. And I saw that there was some little hairs and dust that got on the mirror down here, so I just wanted to show. Cool tool. Can also put a link for that one, because everybody should own one of those to take off the dust, because there will be dust that gets into your microscope and on it. And then I'll just, it's pretty clear, nicely cut. I'll just put this one in quickly, and then we'll jump right in to Rakna. Can clean it a little bit better later on. Don't forget to tighten your glass. Fits. There we go. Tight. All right, we'll put our screwdriver back. And we'll get focused onto something pretty. All right, so here's Rakna. Yesterday when I was reviewing some of the video that we've made, look at that. No scratches underneath. Haha. I said that there weren't any thrips left or that we could find, but in reviewing, I did see that there was one guy wandering around. Couldn't find his friend. I didn't look too closely tonight, because, you know, if you eat the same meal over and over and over again, how you just get tired of it. So I thought, instead of searching for thrips and book lice on our windowsill, Rakna here, where was she? Zoom out. There she is, our guest of honor, the star of the show. I thought we would give Rakna the chance to extraorally digest, we'll review that in a minute, a new friend. She's the perfect host, isn't she? And this new friend was found on a lampshade. It looks like a moth. It seems to be missing one antenna. It didn't fly away too quickly, as in I could catch it. I strongly dislike moths. When I was a kid, my mom used to, oh, look at that face on there. Do you see that face on the back of the wings? It looks like a skull. Oh, it has two antennae. One is just flipped downwards. Anyways, when I was a kid, my mom always used to say, oh, the moths eat my sweaters. Funnily enough, it's one of those sayings that I also find myself saying while I'm smashing moths that tend to fly through open windows. So we'll see if Rakna tonight will eat the moth. While we do that, I'm just going to switch my screen to just give you this cool slide that I found, covering how extraoral digestion works and how, remember that Rakna gets her victim with some venom. And so once she attaches and latches onto her victim, she sprays him with venom, and in that venom is a little bit of digestive enzyme, and then she goes into what's called extraoral digestion, where she produces digestive enzymes that are pushed into the her prey. And it looks a bit like this. There's two different types. So there's non-refluxing extraoral digestion, where that's the top image here, where the insect that does this, so for instance a spider or the image of this insect, would latch onto their prey and then spew this digestive enzyme directly from their organs, internal organs, and then it would flow internally back directly into their digestive tract. And then the second version that is illustrated is refluxing extraoral digestion, where think of a cow, how they regurgitate their food and chew it again. This insect in particular would be spewing out digestive enzymes, taking everything that it could in, regurgitating it out with more enzymes, and digesting it further back and forth and back and forth. So I thought that was pretty cool to learn about. I didn't know anything about extraoral digestion before, and look how far we've come. We're in it together, folks. All right, so let the real fun begin. We're going to try and move, like usual, Rakna, who is fast and walking around tonight. Let's get some nice light on her. There she is. She's moving fast and moving around, very alert tonight. You can see all her webs behind her, and we're going to zoom out just in case. And we're going to try and move her new roommate without losing either in my house. I am sorry if a moth gets smushed, because that would take away prey for Rakna. So I will, just for this purpose, move Rakna to the other side of my microscope viewing area. She'll be over here, and I might try to keep her in view, and I'm going to just try and ponder the best way to get this moth in there. And it might actually be that I do what I wanted to do the other day with the book lace. And that is lift and shift. Let's see if I can lift the lid and shift it without losing the moth. Oh, Arachna's on the move. Too many moving parts. The moth or Rachna. Let's see. So, for experience, if you're using a live critter like this spider, I have been really enjoying moving around the whole petri dish because our petri dishes are quite wide, giving Rakna lots of space. However, with this thinner glass, my petri dish fits right into where my glass goes, and it makes it very hard to move this petri dish around freely because they are no longer level with each other. So I think what we'll do is either have to buy a second piece of glass that's thicker, or buy two and level them off, one a little bit thinner than the other. Just, you know, learning on the go. And it would really help if I had you know what, why don't we try that for a second, because it might make this transfer a little bit easier. Bear with me. Use that handy little screw, and we're going to try that shaded glass here, this frosty one. And you know what? The two of them fit quite nicely on each other. Look at that. Now it has obscured my light underneath, which is fine because I was doing that anyway. I can't get the screw as tight, but that's okay. And I'm going to just move my mirror underneath to get the light that I probably want. We'll assume we want that light. There's Rakna. Looking pretty. Put her in focus. All right, so at least we have a flat surface. It's one less thing to worry about. Okay, we'll make sure our friend is on the lid that we want him to be on. And that Rakna is on the same one. So I don't stand there with two bottoms. And let's make sure Rakna is also not attached to this one, because she is. Eek. Let's see. Now another way to do it would just be to move this just a wee tad out of the way. He is moving quite a bit. She knows that the lid is open. And I think this little critter underneath me also knows. Now Arachna is a jumper. Yeah. And she's fast. It's a matter of, it's like playing Tetris here. And this guy doesn't want to move. Probably already knows what his fate is. Get him to go on the other side. I also don't want to hurt Rakna by lifting up the petri dish. I'm sure some of you are knowing a much more scientific, brave way to transfer one to the other. And we're done. So we don't miss it. Those are the two. They're roommates. I will flip Rakna and the moth, and I will put the moth in view for now. Whoops, there we go. Can you see the moth? Where is it? There we go. All right, so we have this little tiny moth. We need to find our handy little tool, which is around here somewhere. It's right here. I'll tell you how long she is, or he. Remember this handy little tool. I found it on Amazon. It's called a dot crosshair ruler. The trick will be to get it underneath, I guess. That's probably the best way to do it. Underneath. To find out how big she is. She's bigger than any of these dots. So I think actually we won't need our cool little tool as much as I really want to. We'll put her in view. And for iNaturalist purposes, because we have a nice iNaturalist account, I will take a photo, if I can, of said creature. Normally I do this with my camera, but tonight we'll just take this little screen capture. Trying to focus. Right there. We'll load that to iNaturalist to find out what kind of critter she is in the end. And I'm really interested because I know lynx spiders do eat flying insects like bees or wasps, mosquitoes, small grasshoppers, sometimes insects that are also bigger than they are. I am interested to see how Rakna will handle her flying prey if I can only get them together. I'm sure they'll be the best of friends. Let's see. Here we go. Oh, come, where are you? There we go. And Arachna was close, but not close enough. And in a very scientific method, I will, I'm going to move that back to the middle. I'm going to get tape in case I decide to flip comes with an extra lens cloth. I'm going to put tape around Arachna's little, at least on two sides of the petri dish, so that it doesn't shift so much and I don't lose. Oops. Oh, we've got a flyer. So I don't lose anybody or accidentally open something and then have an unattended accident. Here's the moth. There. And Rakna is over here. Right there. Now if I could only get the two together. I guess you just have to be patient in nature. I think zoomed in. Oh. There they are, both on the same screen. Now, I am going to try. There's Rakna down there. Oops. Okay, she's out of the way. Oops, she's very close to it. she's ran right underneath it. They are right beside each other. The best way to get them together in one screen. I'll just zoom in on the moth here for a second. So there's the moth. Nice side view of the moth. See its eyes at the top. And also pay attention to Rakna at the same time. So there's its eyes. Those dark circles. And it's got two antennae as well. It's all tucked in. There's its back of its wing here. Long feather-like wings. Not as cute as Rachna. I don't know, you don't make the cut in my box. So, now I've got Rachna now sitting, not intentionally, but sitting on this flower. Like, how could you say no to that face? Right? Am I wrong? Look, we're wearing matching colors today. Nice shirt, Rakna. Whoops. Have to watch out for that one. Let's see. In lieu of time and impatience, we're going to mix and mingle at the pace that we would like. So, I'll tell you a funny story. Yesterday, we have these sweet Allison that's in this plant that's inside of Rachna's enclosure. Oh, they're right beside each other. We had a bag with some specimens. Specimens that we had captured, taken with us from a hike. Little leaves and plants, and we were looking at a Mexican pokeweed in the bag because we knew there were some thrips in that bag. And there's the moth from underneath, by the way. We thought, well, we'll just look for more little insects inside the plastic bag. Not opening it, but inside the plastic bag. To see what we could find. And we looked at the Mexican pokeweed, just quickly using the iPhone microscope or magnifier, and saw that there were little critters. And then we looked further in. There were these little tiny red critters walking about. Turns out they're mites, and they were everywhere. And it just makes you think of all the things you're bringing into your house without even realizing it when you just pick flowers or walk through grass that you don't even know you're bringing in. And these are critters like, the moth here or Arachna over here are clearly much bigger. Where's she? Clearly much bigger and can be seen. But there are a lot of critters that we bring in with us unsuspectingly or unexpectedly. We don't intend to bring. Oops. There we are. They are right above each other. So it just makes you wonder how much you're actually bringing in on a regular basis without even realizing it. And this might be an interesting waiting game of Rakna versus moth. because I can almost guarantee you one is going to be making a move. And we've learned that Rakna also senses odor from insects, and that's how a lot of lynx spiders sense where their prey is, and they go to the area with the most amount of prey. And they use these little tiny hairs, these long black hairs in their arms, on their arms, to feel very minute movements. So I'm going to stop moving her enclosure so she can really, I feel like her arms are moving. Oh. Just like she's washing her hands before she eats. And she ready to pounce? I had a cat once that used to do a few cats. Oops. There she is. She's got. So the lynx spiders often has described as having cat-like behavior. Just patiently wait. And try not to move the table or anything. Very patient. Makes you wonder what they're thinking. Whoop. Little arms are moving. Or legs, I should say, legs. That's moving her legs. Amazing how she's balancing. Look, she's got all these legs up in the air, and she's still able to keep her torso primarily balanced. How many legs does she have? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 in the air. And there's the moth's underside. And the moth is on the top of the petri dish. Arachna is on the little stem. It's hard to say how far away, but she's at the right angle to just jump right onto that thing if she wanted to. A little bit of a sideways spring. She's actually turned her face, what we would think is mainly her face, away from it, but I'm sure she has an eye on it. And this is where I guess we're just going to have to be patient and wait and see if anything happens. That would be quite something. She's never had in our presence a flying meal to go, a flying food, fast food. Oops. Now the moth has moved. Put its antennae in. Arachna is still. So many moths will drop to the ground and play dead if they're being threatened or attacked. As this one is hanging from the ceiling, or from this is our petri dish here. The moth is on the top on this side, and Rakna is just below, maybe at this kind of center line area, just below. So they're very close to each other. If I were to estimate, I would say maybe a centimeter, quarter of an inch. So I don't know if it's playing dead right now, but it was moving around the enclosure and it just moved its antenna in, so I don't know too much, but I think we'll be patient and we'll just say, for the purpose of this, that they are roughly half a centimeter if you put it on an angle, half a centimeter apart in distance. Very close to one another. Kind of wish something would happen. The moth's length, so we know Arachnida. Let's see if we can measure the moth without disturbing too many moving pieces here. The moth is, oops, Arachnida's moving. In total, 6.5, 7 millimeters. Now let's see. Maybe. Whoop. The moth just walked into Rakna. So Rakna, this is interesting. The moth accidentally, when I flipped it, walked into Rakna, and the Rakna went into a very different position than I've seen her before, with her hind up a little bit more. There she is. They've touched each other again. I think they both know of each other now. But they are not acquainted. At least not to the degree that we would like them to be. It could be that we're just moving Rakna around too much for her to be interested in eating, but that hasn't been an issue in the last nights. I would highly doubt that all those little thrips were so filling. Come on down. Now's your chance, Rakna. Rakna's there. The moth is there. Rakna has moved away. Maybe because it's a flying thing, Rakna's not so interested. Well, it was worth a shot. They are again very close to one another. There's Rakna at the top of the screen. And there's the moth. Given that we're around half an hour, what I would probably do is give this a minute or two more, and then I would say that I let the camera roll. I end the stream and let the camera roll, and then we can post it as a little clip on our YouTube page so that you have a link of her actually maybe, you know, eating, or maybe it happens, whoops. And does she have it? No. She did walk on its wings. It is rather fast. There she is. that was close. She has touched it a few times, like she's in a very defensive, arms up position that she's not normally in. You can kind of see it a little. Oops, now she's curled up again. So I think both critters, oh, they're right beside each other, know very much about one another. And Rakna is, oh, it's unfortunate, Rakna is right there. Oops. I think she touched it. Will she go in for the kill? Yeah. That was fast. That was fast. That was fast. Zoom in a little bit more. So there we have Rakna. She hit it once, so she's moving it. Let's see. She has moved it. She's walking with it. Just trying to get a hold of it. There's the moth. There's Rakna. She's probably filling it with venom right now, so it can't attack back. That is one of the first, it is trying to do something. That is one of the first things that such smaller spiders often do, and creatures that rely on their extra oral digestion, is that they attack with a venom first, and then they can maneuver their prey to a way that they will not be injured. And then they start to extra orally digest their prey so that they don't have to deal with all the extra harder pieces that they can't physically consume, those being wings or skeletal structures or shells, protective measures, etc. Let's see. There's Arachna here. There's her head. And there's the moth in her arms. So what I did observe is that she hit the moth as she walked by. She ran right over top of it, knocked it once, and then it was crawling and she went right over to it. I hope, because of the way the camera was and the petri dish, I hope that you were able to see it as well. Zoom out just a little bit. So you can see there's the moth here. It's quite long, little feet are moving. And there's Rakna, and I think she's already filling her. She's sitting very nicely on this plant. Let's see if we can see something from the bottom. Oh, she's walking with it. Perfect. Thank you, Rakna, right in the middle. All right, what do we have here? Nope, you were right, happily moving. Stay with me. Where are you? There you are. All right, oh, that's even better. Nope, you're moving again. Probably wants to find some place a little bit more protective. So that took her up. Man, stay near. Let's move out a little bit. That took her a little bit longer, obviously, than with, she's moving quite a bit, than with, there's the body of the insect. It took her a little bit longer than it does with the book lice, because of that element of flying. And I have to say the moth's defense system of being very, very still, staying still, and then hovering and moving quite quickly, we're working out for a long time to its advantage. So some moths, so you can see here, look at this, the wings. That'll be interesting. So the wings, as you can see here, have, these ones are very disturbed now. These little shells, it looks like scales of a fish. Moths' wings, we've always been told never to touch a butterfly's wings because they won't be able to fly later, but moth wings are very similar. And a moth can evade predators, especially spiders or so, because the scales are quite soft and slippery, and it doesn't allow this insect, the predatory insect, to stick on to that insect, so to the moth, because their scales kind of are powdery and slippery. So that's one way that they can be evasive. And I know at the beginning of our stream I said, oh wow, look at almost, you can see like a face or a skull inside the moth's wings at its back. Some moths are able to disguise themselves and they look like spiders, and it really confuses, or other insects, so that they confuse the spider itself, because they don't want to be the prey. And here's a website that talks about this. So those are typical spider eyes that you're seeing on that website there. And those are not the way Rachna's eyes are. Rachna's eyes go vertically. Those are more horizontally, but the text is apparent because the moth will spread its wings to look like a spider, which can be quite confusing. So if you see, the moth will open its wings and then kind of fold them down, and it looks like a spider's face. You can see at the top there, this is a drawing. The spider's on the bottom and the moth is on top, but they look very similar in a quick appearance. And when you're attacking something, then obviously it's going to look, you're going to take a very quick first glance and see what you can see, and if it looks like a spider or a moth, then you might not attack it as quickly. Sorry, if it looks like a spider, you might not attack it as quickly as you would think you would attack a moth. So that's an interesting defense mechanism. It could be that so that article is obviously for what's called a metal mark moth. I don't know if the same defense mechanism is appropriate or relevant to this type of moth, because I don't know the species of this moth. I can only assume that that face and patterning of the wings is helpful somehow in its defenses. I just wanted to zoom in and look at Rachna's paws or legs. You can see little white scales from the moth on her fur. You can see it here. It's in focus on one of those long hairs. Let's see if I can get my mouse here to point over, but you'll see it. There's a nice long hair, and then on there it looks like tiny little grains of rice, and those, I believe, are the moth's scales and the little tiny shells from its, like, scaly parts from its wings that are on Rachna's torso. There she is, eating quite happily on her roommate. Let's see what she does with the moth in the end. She's really eating that one. She must be very hungry. That was a much bigger prey than anything we've given her recently. So I was quite happy that I found that one. on a lampshade. I think we had the window open yesterday evening, and it must have flown in either through the kitchen window or another window. And I have to say, sometimes we don't have too many insects, flying insects, where we live. Occasionally we do, but not enough to get screens in windows that we only open for a short period of time. But there have been instances where bugs do fly in, and I'm a big fan of bugs outside and not inside, so they tend to get smushed or released back outside if I can, when we capture them. I have to say, now I look at bugs inside the house from a completely new lens. Food for Rakna. Let's see how big we can get Rakna before we release her. We have a community garden. I might put her there in the end. I've grown quite fond of her. Look how cute she is. Who needs a cat? Anyhow, there she is, feeding away. Happily drinking on her juice box. She is moving quite a bit. She's vibrating her arms quite a bit. I don't know if it serves a purpose, if it's nerves, if it's the weight of the insect, or if it's just, because she can be quite still for quite some time without the movement. I don't know what the benefit of these small vibrations are. Is it her heart beating? Because she's pumping, maybe it's the pumping of the digestive enzymes. I haven't seen it to that degree before, but I mean, this is a much bigger prey than we've given her in the past. Oh, it stopped. And now it's going again. I don't want to move her too much, but I do want to get a different angle for you guys. See what we can do. Zoom out. And zoom in. I think it will probably take Rakna a little bit longer to eat the moth, although I never know, the body of the moth is bigger than that of a book louse, but I don't know how long it'll actually take her because it's a lot of wings. Let's see. Sorry, Rakna, I'm gonna move you. Maybe you give us another angle to look at. There we go. There's the wing of the moth. Let's see that she is pumping. Change some of the light. Let's see if we get something different with the lights here. If that makes any difference. And then we'll zoom in a little bit more. See if we see anything else other than Rachna's nice little eyes. She's quite still now. And she's back at it. I don't think you can see much. She is holding on to it quite well here. There you go. There's Arachnida. It's amazing how she's balancing with those back legs. With those back legs. And still holding on to her victim. My legs are doing what? There's got 1, 2, 3, 4 at the back. The first one in the air at the bottom corner here is floating. The other one is also not holding on to it. And she's got 2 little tiny ones in front, these little orange ones. 3 holding on to her prey. Maybe 4. and 1 in the air, 3 holding onto her for stability. Strong. Strong, strong, strong. There's another view. Close up of the moth. Its wings. You can see how, can't see any of the filling, but you can see the wings themselves, these scales, how Rakna has them on her arms. Going up. There's an eye, she's always watching. She seems to have angled her prey quite nicely. Let's see if we can move her again. There. Okay. See what we can glean from this angle. Interesting. See some sort of, so this brown, dark brown piece that I'm trying to get into focus here, ever so slightly, it's kind of right at the bottom of her. That is her claw, and that is what she uses. It's got these little kind of fangs at the tip. It would be interesting to see how exactly, where the venom comes from and where these extra oral digestive enzyme comes from. Is it in the claw? I wonder if we can look that up. We'll look that up and find out exactly where the venom comes from in a spider. Is it like a separate tube very close by? Is it, I don't know how the spider's mouth is. I'm learning as I go here. I'm sure there are experts that know exactly, but I'm new to microscopy. I am new to having a pet spider. So I can't be the only one with naive questions. So let's find out together. All right. Her little arm, she's pushing. So some of those little white flakes on her arm are part of her own fur. But then these floating ones between these long three hairs that she has, those definitely belong to the moth. Zoom out for you guys so you can get a bigger picture again. She makes it look effortless. So you can see on her, I don't want to move her too much, but you can see on her back legs how she has this claw, this double, it looks almost like a claw. I can't tell if it's just two long hairs that are kind of pronged out from each other. Spock fingers, I'm not really sure how to do that. At the very bottom. I mean, her long hairs on her back are just as thin as the fine hairs on this piece of stem. So you can imagine that she really hears a lot, or senses a lot, I should say, through her claws. Wouldn't mind getting another angle without disturbing too much of her feeding. Let's start here. I mean, I guess if you're a spider in the wild, you would also have to deal with, you know, this is a very tame environment. Your prey is released to you. You have one stick or stem without any predators. Everything is fed to you or for you, prepared. There is no wind, rain, or other elements that are blowing you around like crazy. So from that perspective, I must make these small movements that I do to move her around quite jarring. But you would think a spider would also be used to such things. Oh, that's nice. Don't move. I was enjoying that upside down picture here. She's probably making a mess of this thing. Oops. Sorry, Rakna. We're gonna go this way. Nope. You can see the eye here, I think. Black thing. I'm not sure if that's the eye of the moth or if that's his claws. I can't really tell. She is quite agile. It's quite fascinating. So I will have to look up how they have the venom in their mouth. We'll just try to get a better picture. She didn't like me tapping that too hard. Let's see, fast. That's kind of nice. Look at that. Let's see if we can see the pumping mechanism. No, she flipped again. She doesn't want us to see tonight. Oh, that's okay. That's nice. So we have, oh, that's the eye of the moth here. She's got her, looks like she's nibbling on him. Something is moving back there. Just the moth's head. Now she's, well, you can see some of her eyes a little bit better. There's one at the top, one underneath this black bulge. Oh, that is one underneath that. A tiny little one under that. Very atypical eye patterning. And obviously you can see on his eyes, I'm going to say it's a he. Maybe, I don't know, it's an it. He, she, it, the moth. You can see how it has many lenses on top of its massive eyes, much like a fly would have. Zoom out here a bit. See Rakna a little bit better. She looks like she's just got on by. I wish I could turn her just a bit, but I'm scared that if I move her, I would hate to lose this great angle that she's got us at. You can see the antenna of the moth at the very bottom of the screen. It's just flicking ever so slightly, and I don't think that's because the moth is still living, because it's clearly not. I think it's the enzymes and maybe some muscle reflexes that are coming from the spider sucking it so much that it's kind of pulling on tendons and muscles. That's my assumption, because there's nothing left of this. I actually don't know if that's true. How fast does the moth die? Because does it feel that its insides are getting sucked out, or is the brain also sucked out with it? It doesn't look to be moving anything. Interesting. So we have this article here. We'll make that a little bit bigger if we can. So feeding physiology. A feature characteristic of all spiders is the consumption of an entirely liquid diet. Spiders have a narrow gut that can only process liquid food, didn't know that, and engage in external digestion. This is what we're seeing right now on Rakna. External digestion occurs by excreting digestive enzymes originating in the midgut to liquefy solid prey tissues, or by macerating the prey using their cheliceraal teeth and pedipalps. Oh, those pedipalps are the little boxing gloves that you can see on the male spiders directly in front of their face. That was the word the other day I was looking for. While covering their prey with digestive enzymes. So they either rip it apart or use these little pedipalps to cover their prey, or they excrete these digestive enzymes. So that's one thing that they do. Very cool to learn. Probably wondering how I do that all by having my hands on the microscope. It's magic, isn't it? How these things pop up. Parasites of spiders and their impacts on host behavior and ecology. That's from the article that we will reference in the links. Always got to give credit where credit is due. Somebody has answered our question in some research paper or done some sort of investigation or has experience with spiders, and it is not me. I am learning from others and their experience, so we always got to give credit where credit is due. It's just how the world works. Let me see if I can turn her, because that way it might be more interesting to see from the side here. Well, we're already at an hour. I don't know how much left of this. Ooh, look at that reflex on the legs. I don't know how much. Isn't that interesting? How much of look at the back legs. Flicking. I don't know how much is left of this little moth. I know with the smaller bugs that we've seen, they don't get much of a head left. Like their exoskeleton or their shell is left, but it kind of looks like their whole body gets squished. I don't know with the structure of a moth how it's going to look in the end when she's done with it, and how long it actually takes for her to consume the moth. Glad we got to see it. Look at that back leg twitch. I find the feather-like structure of the moth quite interesting. There's its wing on top here. That flat thing that's kind of flicking back and forth. And we're going to zoom slowly, kind of crawl with it. The photo of Rakna that's below in this gray picture, below that square one, that's done by photo stacking. That one right there. So when you look into a microscope or you take a picture, as you can see here, the moth's eye are in focus and Arachna is not. With photo stacking, depending on how many pictures you take, we're just new to it, but you start at the very top of your object in view, in this case Rakna, and you'd start at this piece and you would start taking pictures as you scroll down as far as you can. This is just my first pass. I've only taken this one photo, 2 photos now of Rakna with photo stacking, but it's a good way to start. For us, we have an app that helps us with that, and it kind of merges all these photos and it finds the most clear in focus item on that photo and takes it like an MRI and stacks it to create a very in focus full image, and that's what you see down there. So when I'm zooming in on Rakna or the fly, and I'm saying, or the moth in this case, and I'm saying this is the top of its wing that's in focus. Obviously when you look in the image here, it's kind of all in a little bit more in focus, and it's more of a 3D image that I see. But with the photo stacking, it gives it a really clear picture overall. And our photo stacker is called Zareen Stacker. It's created some really beautiful pictures that we've done, from cactus to Arachna here. And it's an app you can download. It's been great so far. Really cool to learn what you can do with your microscope. And they have a 30-day free trial, or you can purchase a license if you want, if you get really into it. I think we might have started with a free trial to see how it goes. It's been really great. So there's an example on their website, for instance, that shows if you take that photo, that's the photo on the left that we would take, and it would go through and take all of these photos and it would combine them together and compile them into the photo on the right, where you can clearly see from that first image, you wouldn't have seen those back feathers that's on the back of the fly or any of its facial features. You can now see them in the stacked image. So it's really cool. You could do it with such a picture if you really wanted to start clicking and zooming, focusing in on each level of the photo. So when you get your cool microscope, you can start photo stacking. Very cool. All the cool kids are doing it. Yeah. I wish I could see a little bit differently with Rakna here. See if I can play with some of the light. There's some different light features on our microscope here. We're thinking of getting some other light. We've got a top-down light here. But I think what we'll do eventually is kind of get some octopus arms. They're lights that kind of stick from the side. And they will be able to give us the lighting from more angles instead of just top-down or bottom-up from the plate below. I have to say it's actually worked out quite well with this clouded plate. I think because of what we're looking at here, doesn't seem to make a difference if the light is obscured or not. So, for that purpose, I think I had read the purpose of a clouded plate once, or clouded glass underneath once, and I think it really has to do with the subject that you're looking at. All right, Rakna, how long is this going to take? Let's see. Oops. My sweater sleeve moved too. I think we've looked at her from this angle long enough. Shall we move her around a little bit just to see if she moves her prey and gives us something fun to look at? I'd like to see its body or what's left of it here if we can, before I regret leaving my bedroom window open one more time. Or would I regret it because I would have something to feed Rakna tomorrow? I always wonder how, I guess with this extra oral digestion, the spider would be able to, you would think maybe they would be able to fight against diseases or infection of some sort of, that their prey is eating or is infected with, because they might be able to either have enzymes against it that are introduced prior, or I wonder how that works. She's moving some back legs here. Kind of not the angle I was hoping she would give us. I was kind of hoping she would let us see the underside of the moth. It's funny, so we've got a pretty good microscope. It's actually a fantastic microscope, and we've got a very nice lens on it. It's 1.75. We have it also, or one times magnifying lens. And then we have a 2 times magnifying lens. It's quite big. It would be very hard to record. Whoops, sorry, Rachna, I did not mean to bump you. It would be very hard to record Rakna with the much larger lens, but you do get something much more in focus. And my reason I bring that up is that you can zoom in and you can see all these little tiny scales and pieces of the moth here on their wings, and the little hairs on Rakna. And I'm always wondering, why don't we ever see any mites or lice or bugs on Rakna? I'd have to say, apart from those Mexican pokeweed, which are toxic, by the way, we live in a pretty sterile environment. There's not too much on these insects that I have seen. I'm sure that's obviously not the case in the wild. There's probably mites or viruses. I don't know what kind of things would live on a spider that would be detrimental to it. Fungi. The fungi are not the fun guy. Fungi would probably also live on it. And from that article we referenced earlier, Bacteria, fungi, viruses, and protists are, I don't know what protists are, I have to say, are protists. I don't, are the major parasites for spiders. What is a protist? Do you know? I don't know. I will find out. And I'm curious what kind of fungi would live on a spider? That's not really fun. These are some pretty gnarly pictures from that article. After seeing those little mites yesterday, they were very small. I mean, we could see them in the microscope. I don't see any on this spider. But I have heard of mites on spiders before, and I've heard of pests or pets that you can get to accompany your spider, your house spider, or like your house pet spider if you have a tarantula or a Western lynx, that would eat those pests. Protists is any I don't have my glasses on. Eukaryotic organism that is not an animal, plant, or fungus. Protists do not form a natural group or clade, but an artificial grouping of several independent clades that evolved from the last eukaryotic common ancestor. There's not a single accepted definition of what protists are. They're generally unicellular microscopic eukaryotes that can be purely phototropic, which are generally called algae, or purely heterotrophic, which are traditionally called protozoa. But there are a wide range of mixotropic protists where phagotrophy or phototrophy coexist. They have different cell life cycles, trophic levels, modes of locomotion, and cellular structure. Some protists can be pathogens. Examples are algae, flagellates, amoeba, slime molds, that sounds fun, fungus protists, and parasitic protists that cause malaria. Makes you really consider having a spider as a pet, doesn't it? Or letting your pet lick your face. Protists. I learned a lot tonight. Look at all the stuff you can learn just by getting yourself a microscope, Christmas tree, and a house spider. And I have a really awesome research team with me. Ooh, another nice angle. That eye is looking a little bit more glassy. Do we see it? Let's see. Doesn't that look a little bit different from what it did before? I think so. That looked a lot more clouded before. Oh, that eye looks totally different. It looked much more like little lenses, and now it looks like one. I'm lying. It still looks like a lenses. Yeah, I'm lying. It was a little scale from its wings. Kind of looks cartoonish now that I turn the light up a little bit more. Oh, I got all excited. Look, did you see my excitement? I saw my excitement just beam and then fall from grace. Let's go back to, whoops, where are you going? No, don't run away. You want to be in the spotlight? Look at those legs move. So protists, any number of group of diverse eukarya, predominantly unicellular. We'll read that. Oops, 1 second, we're running. It's quick fun when she runs. Might be too hot for it, but it's a halogen light. Anyways, I have a great research team. They keep me informed. I like learning with them. Him. Yeah. Don't move so much. I'm trying to watch you. She doesn't want to share with us. Here I am sharing knowledge. She doesn't want to share her snack on camera. Oh, that was pretty too. Oh, you can go this way. We'll go this way with you. Let's see if we can. There's the bottom side of Rakna. There's always like some sort of interference, right? She has to have like a plant in the way. Let me try to find a better angle. She's going to move anyways in a second. I guarantee it. Almost guarantee it. Let's see. There she is. I don't like this angle as much. Better. Let's see. Protists are not protests, but protest against protests. That's not a really nice angle because we don't see much. Are a highly diverse group of microorganisms that encompass a wide range of forms and functions. Protists are a fascinating group of microorganisms with a wide range of characteristics and ecological roles. They play a crucial part in various ecosystems and have complex evolutionary history that continues to intrigue scientists. Not only scientists, people like us. Structural diversity. Protists can be unicellular like amoebas or multicellular like certain types of algae. Some are even colonial, forming groups of cells that work together. They come in various shapes, sizes, and structures, from tiny spherical plankton to elongated and complex forms. They live in their habitats, are primarily inhabited in aquatic environments, including freshwater and marine ecosystems. Some can also thrive in moist soil. Algae, a type of protist, are often found in both freshwater and marine habitats, contributing significantly to the planet's oxygen production through photosynthesis. For nutrition, protists display diverse nutritional strategies, some autotrophic, meaning they take their food from photosynthesis like plant-like algae. Others are heterotrophic, meaning they feed on other microorganisms and organic matter. For example, amoebas engulf smaller organisms or particles, and some protists are mixotrophic, capable of both photosynthesis and heterotrophic feeding. Ecological roles are fundamental in aquatic food, but I'm wondering, is it that they live on, where's our spider? Okay, the spider is right beside her, eating her moth this way. Is it because they live on the spider, or is it because the spider consumes these protists? How are protists dangerous to spiders? I haven't made that connection yet, and that would be interesting to know how they are both connected to each other. Maybe that's too bright for you and you don't like it. I can respect that. Not everybody likes to go tanning. I don't. Wear your sunscreen, folks. Let's see. That was our fingerprint. Let's look through our petri dish. That one looks like it's almost smiling at us. It's like watching a dog with the, oh, that's the, oh, look at that. That might have been the torso here under Rakna. And there's some sort of gray piece of the bird, of the moth, or maybe maybe she's just taken off all those scales. See if we can get it a little bit. It's moving. It's hard to see with this one because it's so big. So, oops, where are we going here? There we go. There she is. Now she's changed her moth around here so we can actually see the moth upside down now. And Rakna is facing the right way. It's like, you know, you cook your food first, but through extra oral digestion, she doesn't need to cook her food, I guess, like we don't. We do. She's doing it all. Interesting with this one, compared to the last insect she's eaten, you could really see when she was puffing them up. Either this one is significantly bigger and it's taking her a lot longer, or where do you want to go now? Come on back here. You're moving a lot more with this one. It's taking her a lot longer, or it's a lot more challenging for her to break it down. Oh, there, you can see her claws biting into it. There's her claws. Really chomping into that thing. Oops, sorry, that was a bit too extreme in my movement here. I hope you guys enjoy this as much as I do. I mean, who else would want to stick around for an hour and a half for a woman and her spider? So protists infecting spiders, from the article that we've talked about earlier. Parasitic protists represent a diverse paraphilic group of vastly different infection modes and pathology in arthropod hosts. We are unable to find any documented cases of spiders infected with parasitic protists, single-celled eukaryotes. This is likely because they're understudied area of research rather than spiders being unaffected. For example, a review of parasites of opiliones, Arachnida opiliones, indicates that harvestmen are commonly infected with gregarines, which have been verified with ribosomal RNA sequencing. The similarities in physiology and ecology between harvestmen and some spiders suggest that they may be similarly affected. So maybe it's not that they are affected, it's just that it's understudied compared to what we have here. So, I don't know about you. I see that she's moving around quite a bit. I think we caught what we wanted from Rakna tonight. I don't know how much more she's going to eat. We'll definitely be able to see that carcass tomorrow morning. She's kind of hiding from us now and moving around a bit. It's kind of the same thing over and over. So what we'll do is we will put some links on our YouTube page for those articles that we referenced, especially that one about parasites and spiders. And we'll put those links on, and I think we're going to call it an evening here and let Rakna enjoy the rest of her meal in peace. I don't think we're going to see too much more. We'll just say that we got what we wanted out of it. She tried a new prey tonight. It was successful. A little longer than expected, so thanks for hanging out. And we will see you tomorrow night. I gotta go catch some insects, so let's see what we got tomorrow night. for Rakna. We'll see you then. All right, thanks for hanging out. Toots.